What's up, entrepreneurs? You have the solution to a problem, but if the people who need that solution still aren't buying, it's because they don't believe you. So how can you get your ideal customers to believe you, buy what you're offering, and improve their lives? First, everybody has false beliefs wrapped in limiting stories, and the only way to break those false beliefs is by wrapping the truth in a better story. And the way to do that is through story hacking. Story hackers take the most powerful stories from the past, hack the formulas, and apply it to their businesses for profits and impact. I'm Dave Anderson, and my goal is to turn every funnel hacker and every entrepreneur into an expert storyteller using the power of story hacking. That's what this podcast is all about. And remember, guys, your story isn't finished. Okay, guys, today we're going to talk about a few things, but the main thing we're going to talk about is focus. I'm going to show you guys how to create a positive feedback loop between your thoughts and your emotions using the power of focus. I'm going to tell you the secret I've learned about focus that's really helping me right now, and I think it'll help you too. We're also going to talk just a little bit about your hero's journey as an entrepreneur. It's just a very simple thing I'm going to give you about that in this episode, but it's the key to making sure you're living out the right story. You know, Carl Jung said, everybody is living out a story, but it's up to you to figure out which one. Because it doesn't have to be the hero's journey. That's just one story that some people are living out, but that doesn't just happen on its own. You might be living out a tragedy. You might be playing a bit part in somebody else's story. You might be the success story that could have been, but never took action. So we're going to talk about the power of focus, the hero's journey, and how those two things will determine the success of your business. But the main thing I want to talk about is focus. If you can master these secrets of using your focus, you can start creating the life and the business that you want. By the way, this is a continuation of our previous conversation about focus from the last episode. So if you haven't heard that episode, that's podcast episode number 4, go back and check that out. Probably better if you hear that first, but if you listen to it after this one, that should be fine. Okay, last time I talked about the stories you tell yourself about yourself. Those are the stories that rule your emotions. That means you cannot wake up every new morning telling yourself negative stories about problems from the past. Instead, you focus on solutions in the present moment. What you focus on is what you get. So just like last time, guys, I want you to participate. If you participate by repeating important principles out loud, you remember them about 80% better. So repeat after me. I will take lessons from the past, but that's all it has. I will take lessons from the past, but that's all it has. That's because the present moment is for positive solutions. That's how you create the future that you want instead of the future that you don't want, by focusing on that. So no more negative stories about the past, only positive stories about the future. These are the stories that will raise your emotional level, positive stories about the future. Once you use the stories you're telling yourself to raise your emotional level, you automatically raise your level of thinking. This is something I talked about in the last episode. So what I said was, if you're depressed, if you're fearful or doubtful, that's your emotional state, and you can't really think about your own success in any realistic way if that's your emotional state. Your thinking is literally it's being limited by those emotional states. You won't even see the opportunities in front of you if you're in a negative emotional state. And those emotional states are the result of thinking about the past, specifically from thinking about problems from the past. And the cure for that is focusing on solutions in the present moment. When you focus on solutions in the present moment and tell yourself positive stories about the future based on that, you raise your emotional level. So as you start doing that and your emotional level begins to rise, the limits will begin to come off and you'll be able to see more possibilities, more solutions, more opportunities. This will create a positive feedback loop. You focus on positive solutions instead of problems, your emotional level raises. That broadens the scope of how big you can think, and then you repeat the process. Now, I'm not saying I'm some master at this, but I'm at the beginning. And once you begin, things start getting better and better. The important thing is to know the process, and that's what I'm telling you right now. So now you know the process. Now you can start making progress. That's all we can do, right? So just keep making as much progress as you can every day. But back to the point. Why do our emotions matter? Why do we need to raise our emotional level? This is a very important question. Remember, we don't do anything important based on our thinking. It's our emotional level that determines our decisions, and our decisions determine our life. Repeat this to yourself out loud right now. My emotional level determines my decisions, and my decisions determine my life. So if you focus on problems, you find more problems. If you focus on solutions, you find more solutions. This is the reticular activating system of your brain at work. So just remember the RAS system. And this is the important thing. This is how it works. Whatever you focus on, your brain will notice more of it and therefore give you more of it in your life. It's kind of like when you buy a red Mustang. And now all of a sudden you notice that there's dozens of red Mustangs driving around. You never even noticed them before. Are you guys getting this? So only focus on what you want more of. Once we start using our thinking to raise our emotional level, we've created this positive feedback loop now between our thinking and our emotions. So the good thing is now that you know about it, you can kind of make this happen. You can take control of the process. You stop thinking about problems. Stop replaying the past in your mind. All you do is focus on positive solutions. You stop telling yourself negative stories about the problems of the past. You start telling yourself positive stories about solutions and the future that will create. Then you start finding more and more solutions and noticing bigger and bigger opportunities, as long as you continue this process. So the main point is positive stories about the future raise the emotions, and raised emotions automatically raise the thoughts. I know some of you guys are probably still like, emotions, who cares about all these emotions, right? Is anybody thinking that? Well, this is the secret of selling. We buy based on our emotions, and then we use our thinking to come up with logical reasons why we bought. We buy based on our emotions, and then we use our thinking to come up with logical reasons for why we bought. You do it, I do it, and our customers do it. So tapping into the emotions is something you'll be doing with yourself and with your customers. It's important for both. So if you actually use this for the stories you tell yourself, you will begin to move past your own limiting beliefs, because your limiting beliefs exist on an emotional level. As you raise your emotional level, those limits start to come off. Once the limits start to come off, you can think bigger and see bigger possibilities. I hope this is making sense. You can't just think it. You have to feel it. When you tell yourself you're going to do something, but then you still don't do it, it's because you're just saying it. You're just thinking it. You have to feel it. You can't trick yourself with words. That's just thinking. So for example, you can't just think, I'm going to be a millionaire. You have to really believe that you deserve to be a millionaire. The only way to do that is to give people so much value that they want to give you $1 million in return. So figuring out a way to give that much value. Just asking yourself, how can I give more value? How can I help more? So how do you do that? If that's the question, you just focus on the solution. And you tell yourself positive stories based on those present moment solutions. Then you get more solutions. You notice more solutions, more of what you want. A business that's profitable, a business that has an actual impact. That's what you can have. And I believe we all have the ability to have that, because it's 2019. We're moving from the industrial age to the information age, and that means everything is a lot easier, but only for people who have focus. If you don't have focus, you can waste your whole life on social media. If you do have focus, you can make millions of dollars on social media, obviously. Lots of people are doing it. I'm sure you see that all the time. The only thing stopping anybody from doing that is limiting beliefs. We all have limiting beliefs. Otherwise, everybody would reach their full potential. Everybody's not going to do that. I mean, you may have had a limiting belief in response to what I'm saying right now. I mean, think about it. Have you noticed any limiting beliefs just in the last few minutes? Any doubts popping up? If that's happening, maybe that's your emotional level. That could be your ceiling right now, as far as possibilities go. When you hear about something and you know it will improve your success as an entrepreneur, you want to be like, I can do that. That's where the ceiling should be. When you hear about something you know is going to work, your response, or your automatic response, if you're feeling it on an emotional level, your automatic response will be, I can do that. So do you guys want to raise that ceiling? Say yes. I felt it. I felt some yeses out there. I felt lots of yeses. So raise your emotional level by focusing on solutions in the present moment, and that will raise your ceiling. Because if you don't believe that you can do something, you definitely won't ever do it. You can't fool yourself with mere words either. You have to feel it. And if it feels like I'm repeating myself, it's because I am, because I want you to remember this. So once again, you raise your emotional level and your thinking by focusing on the future, not the past. Positivity opens up possibility. Negativity blinds you to possibility because you're too busy thinking about the problems. Problems don't solve problems. Solutions solve problems. So what are you going to focus on? Come on, answer me. What are you going to focus on? That's right, solutions. What's the only thing that gets your attention in the present moment? That's right, solutions. That's the only thing that's going to solve your problems. So let's see if you can fill in the blanks. Focusing on the problems will bring you more problems. That's right. Focusing on the solutions will bring you more solutions. That's right again. I know you guys are getting this now because I'm using every trick in the book. I'm trying to imprint this on your soul and mine. Okay, now let me give you a quick summary. Number one, when you wake up in the morning and begin thinking the thoughts that are going to create your day, no more thinking about problems. Do not let the past create your present moment and therefore your future. When you wake up in the morning, start thinking about solutions and start telling yourself positive stories about the future based on that to raise your emotional level. That's how you do it. Now, once you raise your emotional level, you can start making the right decisions and start moving towards the life and the business that you want. Now, before I go, I want to talk a little bit about something I teased in the last episode. I said that you have an inner knowing. I said you know how a story is supposed to go, and that knowledge is the formula for creating your own reality. The formula is, whenever you don't know what to do next in your business, ask yourself, what would the hero do? But in order to ask yourself this question and get a good answer, you need the right knowledge. That is the key that I wanted to tell you guys about that, because I've mentioned it before. You know, when you don't know what to do next, ask yourself, what would the hero do? But once again, in order to ask yourself that question and get a good answer, you need to have the right knowledge. Remember, the hero, before he can be the hero, he has to find, or she has to find, he or she, they have to find a mentor. They have to learn. They have to train. They have to acquire the proper knowledge. Then they can do what the hero would do. And that is what we're going to talk about in the next episode. In the next episode of Story Hacking Hero, that is what we're going to cover. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Please go to storyhackinghero.com/askme and leave a voicemail if you have any questions. When you do that, you'll also be put on the waiting list for something special that I'm working on. And if you want to take this to the next level and become an expert story seller using the power of story hacking, that's what it's for. So if you're interested in that, but you don't have a question, just go over to storyhackinghero.com/askme anyway, and I'll put you on the waiting list even if you don't ask a question. I'm working on some training only for people who want to take it to the next level and accelerate the process of becoming an expert story hacker. So make sure you leave your best email, one you check all the time. If you're using Gmail, make sure you drag my email from the promotions folder over to your primary folder. That way it won't be lumped in with all the other spam that you get. So take care, guys. I can't wait to hear all your questions and see you on the waiting list. And remember, guys, your story isn't finished. What's up, guys? First, I just want to say that I read every single 5-star review. So the biggest favor you can do for me right now is go to iTunes and review this podcast. 5-star reviews tell Apple they should show this podcast to other entrepreneurs just like you. And when you spread story hacking, you're spreading solutions that are making the world better. This is something I want us to do together as story hackers. So go to iTunes and tell me how story hacking is improving your business and your life. And one more thing, I want you to ask me your number one question about this podcast episode or any other episode. You can even leave me a voice message question and I'll play it on the podcast and give you a shout out. That way everybody can know you're a story hacker and a real part of this community. So go ahead and check the link in the description for that. So thanks so much for the reviews, guys, and keep a lookout for your shout out when I play your question on the podcast. And remember, guys, your story isn't finished.